I am the National Bilingual Consultant for SADLIR. We appreciate that you're here with us this evening, and we welcome those of you who are brand new, first-timers, and as well we welcome our friends that have joined us before, and we've now become amigos through this webinar process. Today's webinar is co-sponsored in a relationship that we have between SADLIR and NACADEM. We at SADLIR are honored to be co-sponsoring this event as it continues our long-standing relationship with NACADEM, and it affirms our commitment and to partnering with the Hispanic community. Some of you who may not be familiar with the word NACADEM may be wondering what it means. Well, each letter means something. It means the National Catholic Association of Diocesan Directors for Hispanic Ministry. They are a national association of full and part-time diocesan personnel in Hispanic ministry. The purpose of NACADEM is to affirm the reality of the diversity of our church in the United States, of our Catholic Church, and the rich cultural diversity that brings a lot of unity through pluralism as an expression of our Catholicity. NACADEM specifically assists Hispanics in the process of integration into the total life of the church. If you go to the NACADEM website, you may see the logo of NACADEM, which is a very interesting logo because they have a candle as the primary focus. It represents Jesus being the light of the world and the center of our faith. This lit candle also represents the Hispanic community as the new vision of church that has emerged through the national encuentros. It is a vision rooted in both our histories and our faith journeys in the Americas. The light radiates through the Americas, for it is our hope and our challenge to see ourselves as one church, one faith, and one body, and joined together. The templo, or the little church behind the logo, recognizes the faith that is passed on by our abuelos or abuelitas in our faith. This evening, a member of NACADEM is going to be our web presenter, and his name is Raul Velasquez. Raul Velasquez is born in Guadalajara, Mexico. He immigrated to the United States in 1995 and has served in Hispanic ministry since then, both at the parish level and at the diocesan level. He worked in the parish level at the Diocese of Orange in California, and he collaborated in formation of catechists and permanent deacons. Currently, he is serving as the director of the Office of Hispanic Ministry in the Archdiocese of Portland, Oregon. His topic today is Organized Disciples, Planning an Integral Part of Our Ministry. As pastoral agents, we have the mission and the role of modeling, of role modeling for those that we serve. Our documents, our church documents says that into this dimension of formation, from good will to formation. And in the Encuentro Mission document, it says plan with the people, not for the people. This voice urges us to be congruent with our lives and our ministry. Right before I allow Raul to begin, let me just tell you two little technical housekeeping details. The session is being recorded, and it will be placed on our SADLIR YouTube channel, so you can view it at a later date or invite your friends to view it at a later date. You will receive a certificate for attending this webinar in case you need it for some sort of certification process. We will send you an email with both the video link and the certificate. All your buttons are on mute, so all your speakers, so you cannot talk to us, but you can communicate to us through the question box. On the right-hand panel of your screen, at the bottom, you will see an area that it says chat. In there, please feel free to enter any questions, and we will address your questions at the end of the session. So without any further ado, I will pass it on to Raul Velasquez so that he can lead us in the discussion of organized disciples. Raul?
Thank you, Victor. Thank you very much. My honor being here, and thank you for this opportunity. This is my first time doing this this kind of service in webinar, and well, I'm so excited starting with this process. And well, that I would like us to start is about this question, organized disciples. So since that many of us, especially many of us who serve at the church, so we assume that because if the church is, God's plan, God's kingdom, so we assume that everything God will take care of, and sometimes we don't really don't take responsibility. So comes to my mind a couple of situations where our Lord describes in the gospel where this general goes to the war, but before just go to the field, so he just starting to observe that his army is smaller than the enemy. So then he sent a representation to negotiate. So in some way, we need to look out the field and find out how it looks like, what the needs, etc., and then we will just proceed. So maybe it's God kingdom, is God, it's His obra, but we need also, He's relying on our talents, abilities, and all that part that we need just to provide as a servers. And we, as a pastoral agent, we are in that position in which many of our co-workers at parish level or even at diocesan level, they are just relying on us, and this is important. So then, Encuentro Mission in our document, as Victor made reference in the brief description that we have for this session. So there's in the number 44, there's this in this paragraph where he talk about this plans with the people, not for the people, and this has been part of the process as we in the national process of the Latino ministry or Hispanic ministry, or the way that you know or are you familiar with this ministry. This has been the process we've been just going to find out what are the needs, what are our what do we need to do to serve and to provide pastoral care to the Hispanic community. So therefore, the process of the encuentros traditionally has been just based on grassroots consultation, and that's this is very important. So in the encuentro process, the pastoral planning and ministry are conducted with the people, not for the people, and this is one of the strongest calling to us. So we need to always be aware about that. So, and in Spanish, we in Mexico, I remember when I was little, there were a saying that is very common among. I used to hear my abuelita or my father saying that, and said, "El buen juez por su casa empieza," and that means the good judge starts from his own home or family. So, and that's the other part of the proposal now. So how can we start to be familiar with this part? Sometimes we, when we are serving here, we just study with the goodwill, and because we really have passion, we have this passion for God's kingdom and for really living our faith and giving people an opportunity to meet God. But one thing that I've been just learning from the American culture is all this culture of planning, preparing, anticipating to any process, event, etc. So it is when we need to start to ask ourselves, why do we need a plan? So, and the plan, and why, ¿por qué necesitamos planear? So we need to plan because we need to know where we are going and what we want to do. So sometimes the daily tasks from, just it doesn't help us to really see our goal. So, and this is important. So the next slide is this question: why do we need to plan? So and also we need to plan because we need to just avoid monotony or discouragement in life. It is important to know that our lives, the objective of our lives, or that we have an objective in our lives. And sometimes maybe we used to plan, or maybe we are really good doing planning, but sometimes we don't realize that also we need to go into the process to understand the process. We need to live the process. This is the best way to learn. And maybe all those people which is a specialist in learning process, they will always tell us it is better when we are just walking that way also. It just happened to me last week precisely. I went to give a training program for marriage preparation for a group of 10 couples, and it is important that we just recommend to these couples we practice all the process. We go through. I just bring them through the process of giving this workshop, giving this training, and then I ask them to follow the process, just following what the couples gonna do for the marriage preparation, because we need to go through that process to understand what we are asking for, and that's also we need in this process. So making a room for God in our lives and open ourselves to the wisdom of the Holy Spirit while we are creating or for our plan for our living. So then a life plan reflects that we're building our own history of salvation. So it is important that we go through the process and we can just walk through that, and we can understand it. And just as a starting point of el buen juez por su casa empieza, the good judge is going to start from his own house. So the planning depends in our leadership style. So then we can just to identify, and this is the proposal, two different styles of leadership. It is the administrative leadership and the Christian leadership. And I would like just to propose to you or put to your consideration these nuances in the leadership. So the administrative leadership departs from the interest set by the organization. So, and manage the community, relies on their authority, inspires fear most of the time, says, and his motto is I, and knowing how to do things, and says go. But the Christian leadership departs from the needs of the community. The Christian leader trains the community, relies on the goodwill and motivation of the community, inspires enthusiasm, says we, show how to do it, and says let's go. So that's the proper style of leadership. So, and that's important to consider ourselves, how or what kind of style is our leadership. So we need also a project for our life, or the life project. So in the next slide, we can see how a pastoral agent needs to have a clear plan of life project. So we need also to start to build or planning our own life. So having a precise sense of what or she wants for his or her life and the pastoral life, and how to achieve it. If a pastoral agent has no clarity in her lifetime, the community suffers frustration, it gets stuck, and in the end, leave. So at the end, everything in our communities rise or falls because of the leadership. So, and this is, I believe, the biggest challenge that we have as leaders. Sometimes our plans rely only in ourselves, but not in our community. And sometimes when it happened when the leader left that community, and there's no well-trained people, so everything is just false because there's no the person who was in some way create that process. So in the next slide we can see that process. So why a life project do we need? It's because we need to identify our ideals and then a plan and view our lives and review our lives. It is important. So then we need to establish goals that lead us to actions, and then we need to set our strength level. Then we can obtain results. So then that all this leads us to our personal fulfillment. So it is important to understand that the process, and maybe we can understand completely, but now the question is if that process I've been able to apply to myself, to my own life, and then do I have a project life? As I mentioned before in this training that I was doing for couples, it is important. So and then now we are talking about if the couple has a plan, has made a plan as a couple, as a marriage, so which is important also. It is important for the couple knowing where they need to know. So we as a leaders, we need to know where we want to go. If seems like what are you talking about? It is clear. It's the kingdom of God. That's okay. That's right. Maybe that's true. What am I talking about? We're talking about the God's kingdom, but we need to understand. We need to have a common vision. A common vision, it will help us to go to the same direction. It doesn't mean that everybody has to do the same. Everybody has to think the same way. But as long as each one of us, we have the same goal. So we are looking at the same objective. So each one of us, it will going just developing the process from their own reality, circumstances, and from their each one with our talents. So then we need to set a mission. We need a mission for us. And then I would like just to put to your consideration what's my mission in life. So in the next slide we can see how why do we need set a mission for us, a personal mission. It's because that's the reason for what my reason to live, or my purpose in life. What people experience or have become relevant. To understand the mission in life is because what my purpose in life, that comes, in some way affected for some experiences that have been relevant in my life, and what I have learned from that, and how I want to communicate it. So I remember when I started high school, it was interesting because sometimes we just read people from their appearance. So, and I remember that many of my classmates I was studying the high school in Mexico. So, but they just came to me and they started to ask me if I was a seminarian. So, and that's weird because I was like, where you coming from with that? And they say, well, it just looked like a seminarian. I don't know how it's supposed a seminarian has to look like anyway. So, but in some way that something happened inside of me when people just, with my classmates, just start to asking that. So on the next level was that there were a sense of trust from them to me, and I start to be like the confidant of my classmates, and I think that's starting to help me to wonder about religious life or preschool, and was a very interesting experience because that helped me to understand that, and then I just started to follow the discernment process for preschool, and then so after 8 years just joining into the religious life, so then I understood that God was something different for me. But the most important is from those experience and all the experience that I had in religious life, I understood something, and my understanding was we need to grow in faith, and the only way to grow in faith is when we have people that help us to release our enthusiasm to really meet God, to have this encounter with Him. So that's what I learned, and all that process just led me to this moment for what I'm doing now here, serving the church here at the Hispanic Ministry Office in Portland. I've been here for 17 years, and doing that, this has been just my honor doing this. So, well, if we really have a mission clear, we'll be able so also to understand what's our vision and what our values. So in the next slide, we can see how the vision is to give life to all that we want to achieve. The ideal, the dream, what we want just to reach. So the vision is like just setting a high standard that we want to see. It's like the dream. Then we can start to reflecting the values of the reference that we have as a principle, and foundations, so that give us the ability to act with that vision, and that values allow us to live our experiences and to reach our desires, all the objectives that we just going just to set. So it is, well, so at this point it is important, well, having a clear vision and valores. So it is important then that we can just walk into that process. So then I have here some steps to our life planning. So to make a plan for our life in the next slide, we can see how we can just walk through this process. So the idea is that, and the invitation is that each one of you who are just joining at this webinar, so then we can just together reflect on this process and having just give to yourself the chance to go through this process and working with people also after you have this experience. So the steps for our life planning. So first, analysis of the reality where we are, just what are our circumstances, our personal history, etc. So then the resources that we can count on. So what's our resources that we have? Could be talents, could be finances, could be, you name it. So it is important. So and then having a wide vision of our objective, writing out the plan, setting dates of fulfillment, so be flexible with that, and then evaluating the process and adapt to the reality. Sometimes, and it is important to understand that the reality is changing, so we need to be flexible to that pattern and to adapt our planning or process. So, and to celebrate those achievements, that will be important for us to go through that process. So, well, let's go and walk through that process. I would like to invite you to go to the next slide, and then we can just see how the analysis of the reality, it will help us just to knowing the reality in which we are immersed, either in the community or in our own lives. So, and as I mentioned, so understanding of our personal history, it will help us to understand why and how we are now. So why do we need an analysis of the reality? In the next slide, you will see. We needed to understand how the community we serve lives, figure out their needs or dreams and life plans, and to make a plan that reflects proposals and solutions to respond in response to those needs that we identify. So to know what is going on with the community and how these influence their life plan. Discover the challenges they are going through and provide appropriate responses. So, and this part of the analysis of the reality, we can see in both directions, personal and with our community. So it is important, well, to understand that it is important that. So there's in the next slide a parameters that are proposed to make this analysis of reality. So there's an internal and external parameters. So in the internals, we need to be aware about our strengths. So what are our talents? What are our what do we have to offer? So, and then also we can find our weaknesses. What are your disadvantages? What where do we need support? So this is important to understand with those parameters. And the externals is our opportunities. What are our opportunities? What are the signs of the times in this area? And the threats. What is distracting me? What it is distracting me? What it could easily just take me out of my goal, or if there's also an external agents that are threatening us. So we need just to keep in mind that these are a very, very interesting way to have those parameters, and then we can just working with that. Then the next step is just formulating a plan of action. So, and we need to keep in mind that writing the plan of action will be important. So, and in that plan of action, we will work on the needs to resolve, the historical background. So it is important also to understand where all these are coming from and how those needs were generated. So then setting a general objective. So some specific objectives that are related with the strategies to follow. So then the resources could be human resources, material resources, financial resources. Timeline graph, it is crucial for any of our planning with the what, the who, the how, the when, the where. So, and maybe all of this is just sound familiar for each one of you as it sounds for me. So anyway, and then the implementation, the evaluation, and celebration. So we are going to that. So why do we need a plan of action? So we need it, so each one of us as pastoral agents, particularly in this position of leadership, assessed in the next slide, can walk the path of planning that will make us more aware and sensitive before the importance of this tool. As I mentioned before, so we cannot really understand the goodness or of our tools if we don't use it, if we don't go through that process. So as long as we walk through those processes, it helps us to understand better. So then we need to, there's a need to solve, as I mentioned in the former slide, but the following says we need what are those needs to solve. So we need to identify the needs or issues which are all those needs or issues that we need to solve or satisfy. And this is important. Then in the next slide we can see all of that. So identifying those needs and those issues, it will help us to understand what do we need to solve. Then we need to understand the historical background, and that it will help us to get a reference, the point of the situation, and to have better perspective of the current state or of the affairs, of putting into context the need of the situation for better understanding. And then in that way we can give appropriate solution. So as we may see, for example, with the Hispanic ministry or the situation of right now. So 17 years ago, when I just came here to the United States, we were talking about the Hispanic community, but there were kind of just in the way that it is significant, but not that significant. Right now, in many of our dioceses, we can find that the Hispanic presence has just grown to the half of the members of the Catholic communities. So with all that, for example, that reference, we can start to find that the historical background helps us to understand better the situation. So then let's go to the next slide. So then we can just starting with setting a general objective. So what do we want for life, for example? We are talking about our own lives, or what do we want to achieve, or what the purpose of the ministry, for example. So we have many things that we can put as a reference. But what it is, the general objective is what we want to achieve, where we want to go, and what will fulfill the dream. So it is necessary to write down that general objective and remember that it is not the strategy nor the resources. And sometimes this is the part where we get some confusion. So sometimes we believe that the objective are the resources, are the strategy, but it's not that way. So having the main objective, so then we can go to the specific objectives, which are those that it will respond to the specific needs that we have detected in our analysis of the reality. So and then the specific objectives help us to gradually reach our general objective. So and help us to visualize the strategies and the resources we need to reach our objectives. So then in the next slide, we can see what the strategies. So the strategies are the possible actions and activities we are going to solve those needs that we found. And then for those strategies, we need resources, or we need to find out what do we need. So what are the resources? Is that we have or we count on, or what do we need to satisfy those needs that we have? Those resources might be human, might be material resources, or financial resources. So that's the other part of the process. So then, and as I mentioned, so we need to go through the process and trying to make up to ourselves, making a plan. So planning for our life, so that way we can starting to go through that, to understand them better, and also to teach better to our colleagues or the community that we serve. So we have the timeline graph and establishing writing all that we found to fulfill what we desire by answering the following questions: what we are going to do, who is going to do, how, when, and where. So this is very helpful, and this is our reference that we can just go and find out if we are just how are we doing and how are we doing. It is important. So then the implementation comes next, the implementation. So once we have the timeline graph, we execute and we are monitoring the plan accordingly. And we can make as many adaptations and changes as we need. So then after or through that process, then we need to go to evaluate, to schedule 1 or 2 sessions to evaluate and assure what has been planned is fulfilling, and we are fulfilling the needs that we want to achieve. Or it is important just going through the process to evaluation. And sometimes we just forgot to evaluate periodically. We just wait until the end. And sometimes there are some issues, there are some things that arise through the process that can be solved, but sometimes we just left aside and we wait until we finish the process. And sometimes with that attitude, we are just, do not allowing that the plan really be successful. So, and it is important doing some periodic evaluations. And then the next step, just celebrating. Celebrating is important to celebrate all the achievements and to acknowledge the contribution of all those involved and affirming their talents and commitment. And this could be for our community and also acknowledging in our own experience what we have been just done or what we have been just going through. So, well, the next slide, we can see as an analogy of the life of the 3 projects, or projects 3. So, and I really love this image, which is very helpful to understand all this process. So, and to understand all that, we just went through my origins, which is my personal history, is the roots of the 3. So what supports me, my values, convictions, my formation are completely the trunk of the 3. My dreams, my desires, what I want to become is like all the foliage on flowers of the 3, if it is the case. So the people and important people or experiences in my life could be all those birds and nests that are part of that 3, on all that I need to get rid of, let go, or that could just help me or set me free, is just getting rid of all those parásitos, los parásitos que están ahí, so that they are just really just affecting me a lot and do not allow me just to go through. And then just all the achievements to my personal history, or all the process in the planning process, so it will be the fruits of this 3. So and I really love this image that could help us to understand, you know, the process of planning, and sometimes having these kind of images help us also to communicate to people better what we like them to understand and know and experience. So, and I know that what I'm just sharing with you is nothing new. This is something that we can see in many of our, you know, maybe in your experience, maybe someone out there are very or more knowledgeable than me, but anyway, so the most important here is the National Pastoral Plan for Hispanic Ministry gave us also this model of planning, as at the beginning I was just proposing. So as I mentioned, this is nothing new. I'm not reinventing the wheel, but this is just like a call to just remember that we in the Hispanic ministry, for example, we've been just coming through that process and understanding, and even more, so we have that tool already. So, and unfortunately, many of us do not understand that we have those tools, and we need to use the tools. Tools have been created to be used, and the only way that we can understand or we can really find out if those tools are helpful is using them. If we don't use those tools, we cannot really understand the benefits of those tools. So we have here, as I'm just presenting to you the pastoral planning process, you can see all this process where we just went through very, very quick. So then we can understand that reality. And that reality from the Hispanic ministry perspective, we can understand how we can just keep going into this process. So this is a very quick and briefly that just bring to your consideration to understand that also we can understand what's our mission, what's our call as pastoral agents. And then my invitation to each one of you is going through this process, doing our own plan. So that way we can understand what we want to ask to our communities, and then we can start to live in the experience and make them also to live that experience. So, well, I think I would like just to leave for some questions or comments that all the participants are just hearing. So I'm open for that.
Well, thank you very much, Raul. Yeah, we have several questions. Actually, we have a lot of comments of thank you and people acknowledging the good information that you have shared with them. So there's a lot of thank yous in the comments.
Thank you.
But there's several questions. Let me see if I can get to all of them in the time we have allotted. The first question is, what can we do if the leaders above us? So let's say we're all into the whole collaboration and the planning and empowering our people and that whole thing. But what about the leaders above us that don't allow us maybe to be as empowered? How do you work with somebody that has a different view of the shared leadership model that you were describing?
Well, that I can tell you, the first temptation is just go into the fight, and that's one of the most wasting energy that I think just found. So there's something important here. When I have clear sense of responsibility, I will work for what I need to do. So the others and the way that they respond or not respond I'm not responsible for that. I'm responsible for what I have in my hands and what I can do with the people that could understand it. So, and sometimes when we see above of us our bosses, supervisors, or you name it, so that's the reality and that's the challenge that we need to deal with. But it doesn't mean that you are not going to do nothing if they don't do nothing. That's not the point. The point is do what it is in your hands to do it. Do not wait until then, until, for example, all the upper levels starting to understand that. That's not the way to do it. So the way is doing what I need to do, is that I'm being called to do. So, and that's the most important. That's my recommendation. So there's no way that we can still just wasting energy and time, frustration. It's not necessary. It'll be better if we can start just to be more proactive in that sense. Hope I answered that question, but.
Yeah, no, it sounds like what you're saying is we've got to find what we can do instead of what we can't do.
Exactly.
And a lot of times we get into situations where we end up fighting, and and it's not really constructive for the community.
It is not.
Right.
True. Yeah.
The next question is similar to the first question, actually. It says, what are the best ways to share our vision? So if we've developed these values and these visions, what's the best way for us to share that with everybody? How do we help everybody see the values and the vision that a community already has established?
The best way is just sharing with our communities, sharing with people. That I found helpful is just talking about it. Because sometimes we see all those values and we see all the vision printed, but we never talk about. We don't share. We don't get into the conversations and to understand what the other understands, what the other sees, and just comparing our experiences or our understanding, it will really help a lot. It will be, it's very, very effective when we talk about the issue. I think that's the best way to do it. So, and make people and make all the audience, make them just to fall in love of what we see. When we are really enthusiastic and well motivated, we will just share that, and to people it gets really also motivated. And I think that's the best way to do it.
Good. And then I have another question. You talked a lot about, in that process, a lot about celebrating our accomplishments. And the question I think is asking, are you talking a liturgical, like a ritual celebration, or just like a pachanga, fiesta celebration, or both?
I'm talking about both.
And I think they're asking for like examples. Like, do you know of any examples you've done with this celebration?
Yeah, I think just like having, for example, when in couple of in the last months we have saw a couple of events process that we were just doing, and one of those is just ended with an encuentro with our archbishop, the new archbishop that we have. So then we start to a process of consultation, etc. And at the end, that we do with that is just inviting the archbishop to this encuentro, and then we just get together with a no big fiesta, but having a lunch with him, and then we share with him our reality, and that was one way to do it. So other way is just having all the community gathering in a misa de acción de gracias. I mean, just Thanksgiving mass, or all the community just gather to acknowledge that we just finish a program, for example, our formation program, and we're preparing that for next month. So we're preparing the process for 3-year formation. Then we are going to have a celebration with all the participants, inviting pastors of their parishes, and having this mass of graduation, for example. So there are different ways that we can just gather the community, bringing them to acknowledge, to really, celebrating what we have just accomplished.
And I think we have time for one more question.
Mm-hmm.
So how does the process work with other cultural communities? Like, how do other cultural groups work with this and work with the group? Specifically, for example, Anglo folks that tend to be very prevalent in our parishes. When they see us doing this, do they understand? Do they have more questions and answers? How does that work in your experience?
Well, that I can tell you, for example, from the Anglo culture, they are more familiar with this kind of planning. They understand perfectly what's planning, and I don't see that they will have too many difficulties to understand. Maybe the challenge is to help them to understand what it is a process, to understand that the process, it takes time, it takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of dedication, and also it takes a lot of accompaniment. And this is the part which is very challenging. So the accompaniment of community, that's maybe the most challenging part. But it depends of our attitude also. If we believe that they won't understand, they won't So it depends also on us, because the way that I see the reality is the way that I approach to the reality. And if I see, for example, is my point with pastor, for example. I just always tell them, if you see the Hispanic community as a burden, you will relate with them like that. So, and then in the way that you see them. So it's your attitude that makes the difference. So that applies to us also. It's the same. And that's my recommendation.
Yeah, well, thank you. That was very good. You know, just one observation on the pastoral planning process from the Tercer Encuentro. It just occurs to me that the Tercer Encuentro was in 1985. So this process has been around for us with a long, long time.
Yeah, the Tercer Encuentro was in 85.
Yeah, so
85, 86.
Which is your point. What the point you said in the presentation is that you're not inventing something new here. You're just saying go back to what we've already done and work with what we've already done. Yeah.
And the point is that we have the tool already, so we need just to take it and use it. So tools are developed to be used. So and that's the point.
Yeah. Sometimes the tools that we need are already within the stuff that's already happened in our church.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Raul. I am going to turn it over to my colleague and coworker, Debbie Matulowicz, and she will finish off the webinar this evening with a prayer. Debbie?
Thank you very much, Victor, and thank you, Raul. Very informative. And I think the comments at the very end of so much of what we need to have right at our fingertips is just a matter of recognizing it. Before closing with a prayer, I hate to say it on a sad note, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the Association National Conference of Catechetical, for Catechetical Leadership. The Executive Director, Leland Nagel, if you know of him, or if you were together with us last week or hadn't seen any of your emails, he passed away on Monday.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's still a shock to everyone. But
yeah.
If you can include in your prayers Lee's family, Vina Garraway, the Home Office, Joni McEwen, and all the other leaders within the association. And if you do want to follow any of the comments, any of the updates, plans are still in process on services, memorials, everything of that. Please go to the Facebook page. It would be facebook.com/NCCL online. There you'll receive all of the updates. And just share in everyone's comments. It's been a countless stream of communication amongst everybody since Monday, since the news came out. Now, I couldn't help but think of Lee throughout this entire presentation because of his leadership and his guidance for so many. And with that, I will close with a prayer. It's called a prayer for integrity. As with several of our other webinar prayers, this one comes from the blog which Kathy Hendricks writes for us here at Savalier. Her blog is called WeBelieveAndShare.com. And Kathy's prayer for integrity brings to me the inspiration of continuing with these plans as Raul was talking, and also served so much as I don't know, a backbone of all of Lee Nagel's activity. So in the silence of our hearts, I will read this to you. Prayer for integrity. Spirit of truth, give me the strength and courage to act and speak with integrity. Help me to be honest and truthful as I carry out my roles and responsibilities. May I strive to be the one who holds fast to the inner compass of conscience, thereby holding to my promises and commitments. Guide me in all my ways, and let me walk each day in integrity. Amen. On that, I thank everybody for joining us again. It was great to be with you this evening. The conversation, the presentation, Victor, Raul, thank you. And as Victor mentioned, we'll be sending you the recording as well as the certificate. All right, so thank you. If you do have to travel home yet today, be safe, enjoy your family, and bless you in your ministry. All right, thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the honor to serve.
Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, good night.